J'étais en train de lire un livre. Wait, we say un livre. But why? Well, book is a masculine noun. But, well, it doesn't make any sense. And anyway, the future is female, so everything should just be une or la. Actually, future is also a masculine noun. We say le futur. Bonjour, bonjour. I'm Kashi and this is Let Us Learn French. When do we use le or la? Un or une? What is masculine and what is feminine? We'll get all of this covered in today's video. So let's get right into it. In this video, we'll talk about the 3 different types of articles, how and when we're going to use them. So the 3 articles are definite articles, indefinite articles, and partitive articles. Don't click off this video yet, it's actually simpler than it sounds. Let me explain. Let's start with the definite articles. So in English, we also have a definite article, but we only have one, and it's the. However, in French, we have 4 of them. That's 3. 4 of them. Why do we have 4? I'm not sure, but we're going to learn how to use them and when to use them. So what are the 4 definite articles in French? They are le, la, les, and l'apostrophe. In a nutshell, we use le for masculine nouns and la for feminine nouns. For example, le chat, la maison. Chat is a masculine noun, so we say le chat. Maison is a feminine noun, so we say la maison. L'apostrophe is probably the most complex one. We use it if the noun starts with a vowel, or sometimes if the noun starts with an H, but not always. I'll give you an example. L'abeille. Abeille starts with a vowel, so we use l'apostrophe. L'homme. Homme starts with an H, so we use l'apostrophe. However, we say le haricot, la hauteur. So even though haricot and hauteur both start with an H, in those cases, we don't use l'apostrophe, we use le or la, depending on whether it's masculine or feminine. By the way, with l'apostrophe, it doesn't really matter if it's masculine or feminine. Now, you're probably thinking, that's all great, but how do I know which word is masculine and which word is feminine? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So I need to say that there's no rule set in stone for whether a word should be masculine or feminine. You can just look at a word and be like, this is for sure masculine or this is for sure feminine. Well, maybe for people it would be easy because words such as fille, femme, tante, mère would be feminine, whereas garçon, homme, oncle, père would be masculine. It is also pretty obvious for animals, for example, un chat, une chatte, un chien, une chienne, but for objects in general. So how do you know if a table is masculine or feminine? Well, the honest answer is you basically have to learn it for each word or each object. But don't be discouraged. There is one tip that I can give you to help you identify whether something is masculine or feminine. So that is words starting with an E, or in French, E, are usually feminine words. For example, la femme, la table. Those end with an E and are feminine. However, there are always exceptions, and one such exception is le livre. Even though livre ends with an E, or in French, E, it's still a masculine noun. But in general, French words ending with E tend to be feminine. So we've talked about le, la, and l'apostrophe. What about les? Well, that's actually the easiest. We use les for any plural nouns. So anything that you have more than one, we use les. Whether it's masculine or feminine, starts with a vowel or consonant or H, it doesn't matter. We always use les. For example, les chats, les maisons, les abeilles, les hommes. Now let's talk about indefinite articles. But quick before we go there, if you like it so far, make sure to smash that like button. They are un, une, and des. In English, un means a-o-n for a masculine singular word, whereas une means a or n, but for a singular feminine word. Indefinite articles are actually the easiest out of the three, since you don't have to worry about whether the word starts with a vowel or consonant or h, or it doesn't really matter. We just use a for masculine singular words and une for feminine singular words. As you might have guessed, as les was the definite pronoun for plural words, des is the indefinite pronoun for plural words. Using the same examples from before, we would say un chat, une maison, une abeille, un homme. Or if there's multiple of them, we would say des chats, des maisons, des abeilles, des hommes. Now we also don't care about whether the word starts with an H or not, so we would use un homme, but also un haricot, une hauteur. Just keep in mind that if English is your first language, it might be a little bit weird for you to use des at first, because in English, we don't really have an equivalent for des. For example, we just say cars. There are cars on the road. Whereas in French, we wouldn't say il y a voitures sur la route, but we would use des and say il y a des voitures sur la route. Another example is a dog is barking, un chien aboie. Dogs are barking, des chiens aboient. How is it so far? If you've made it so far, comment down below, still going strong, so I know that you're committed to learning French. Now let's talk about partitive articles. There are 4 of them in French, and they are du, de la, de l'apostrophe, and des. Yes, there's des again. So what are the equivalent of the partitive articles in English? Well, there is no equivalent actually. So in French, we use partitive articles to refer to things that we can't count or we don't usually count. For example, liquid or food. The closest you would get in English is to use some or any in some cases. We will look at a few examples shortly, but first, let's talk about when to use each of those partitive pronouns. So you might already have an idea from definite articles, but we would use du for masculine singular words, de la for feminine singular words, de l'apostrophe for singular words starting with a vowel or sometimes with an H, and des for plural nouns. So notice, it's the same as definite articles, but we just add a de in front. And you might say, actually, not really. Du, well, there is no de in du. Well, actually, what du is basically de le. So in French, instead of using de le, we use du. For example, for the rice, we would say le riz, but for rice or some rice, we would say du riz and not de le riz. Does that make sense? So de le does not exist in French, we use du. Some examples are du pain, some bread or bread. Je vais acheter du pain. I'm going to buy bread. So again, in English, we don't have a pronoun, we just say to buy bread. But in French, we don't say acheter pain, we say acheter du pain. So we need the pronoun here. In French, we always need at least some sort of pronouns. So whether we say manger du pain, acheter des gâteaux, recevoir un cadeau, we always need either le, la, les, l'apostrophe, un, une, des, or de la, du, de l'apostrophe, or des. So one of those will always be present as long as you have a noun. It doesn't always have to be right in front of the noun. For example, I can say un beau cadeau. So it's not un cadeau beau. There's an adjective in front of the pronoun and the noun, but still the pronoun is present. By the way, we'll talk more about where to place adjectives, so whether it's in front or after nouns, in future videos. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to click subscribe so you know when this video is out. Did I say pronouns for the whole video? I'm so sorry if I did. If you heard pronouns at any point, I meant articles. Partitive articles, definite articles, indefinite articles. Another example is de la fumée. Smoke. Il y a de la fumée qui sort de cette maison. There is smoke coming out of this house. An example with de l'apostrophe is de l'eau, water. Elle boit de l'eau. She drinks water. Or she's drinking water. And finally, an example with de is je fais des pâtes. I made pasta or I made some pasta. Now, because partitive articles had to be more extra, we actually use different ones when we use the negation. For the negation, we use de or des apostrophes if there's a vowel or sometimes an H. For example, we say je mange du riz, but we say je ne mange pas de riz. Je bois de l'alcool, but we say je ne bois pas d'alcool. Non merci, je ne bois pas d'alcool. Et vous, buvez-vous de l'alcool? Let me know in the comments below. The same thing applies when we're describing a quantity. So whether we're using an adverb like plus, moins, beaucoup, or we're using a number, for example, 300 milliliters, we use de or des apostrophes. Some instances are un peu or peu. Un peu de chance, a little luck. J'ai juste besoin d'un peu de chance. I just need a little luck. J'ai peu de chance de gagner à la loterie. I have little luck of winning the lottery. Trop. Too much or too many. Il y a trop de poissons dans ce bassin. There's too many fish in this pond. Assez. Enough. Assez d'eau. Il y a assez d'eau dans ce seau. There's enough water in this bucket. Plus ou moins. More or less. For example, plus d'argent, moins d'argent. Tu as plus d'argent que moi. Or, tu as moins d'argent que moi. You have more money than me or you have less money than me. Beaucoup. Many or a lot. For example, beaucoup d'amis. Elle a beaucoup d'amis. She has a lot of friends or she has many friends. And then a number. For example, 300 milliliters. 300 millilitres. J'ai bu 300 millilitres d'eau ce matin. I drank 300 milliliters of water this morning. Congratulations, you've reached the end of this video. So that's it for articles. If you liked this video and found value out of it, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you never miss a video from us. Also follow us on Instagram at Let Us Learn French Official, where we give you a new French word of the day every day. If you're still here, thank you so much. Write down in the comments below a sentence with any of those articles that we learned today. Also, share this video with your friends and family who might also want to learn French. And as a thank you for sharing these videos, here are 2 other videos that you might like. So make sure to check those out. Thank you so much for staying until the end. I'll see you next Sunday. Take care.